Yeah, and like I said, the way I see it is like you can either be bitter and jealous, and it's still not gonna change the outcome. It's still not gonna be like God's gonna give me a baby and a husband or whatever else. It's not gonna change the result. So why not? Why not in the process at least enjoy it as much as you can?
Welcome to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends, the podcast where we explore life, career, relationships, and pop culture through a Christian conservative perspective. Each episode, we dive into deep topics that matter most to us women, from navigating your career with grace and confidence to watering meaningful relationships grounded in faith. We're here to empower you to embrace your femininity and stand firm in your beliefs. We'll also tackle the latest in pop culture, discussing how they align or clash with our values. Let's uncover the truth and encourage each other to live boldly and authentically. So whether you're at home or on your commute, get ready for some fabulous conversations. Grab your teacup, pour yourself some tea. Come on, girlies, we're changing culture. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy! Mallory and Friends, I'm Mallory.
And I'm Isabel.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a hot minute since I've done a TCAP, which are Christian hot takes, doing some really cool things behind the scenes for everybody. Isabel's seen a thing or two already, but I'm really excited to be back for this TCAP and to have Isabel on. Isabel, how have you been? It's been a minute, sister.
It has been a minute. Thanks, Mel, for having me, first and foremost. I've been good overall, just taking it day by day with work and trying to balance work, life, relationship, parents, all that fun stuff. Yeah, I honestly can't believe we're in May. And, you and I have been talking offline and we're like, let's get on and let's record. And then all of a sudden it's May. And I swear, if I didn't get on and commit myself, it's probably going to be December by the time I got on. So, I don't know how or why, but the time's just flying by, and I'm like, okay. Like trips that I have planned later on this year, I'm like, yeah, I have time, I have time, and I'm just like, oh wait, I don't have time. I gotta book them right now, or I'm not gonna go. Oh, I've been living life, changing my hair every chance I get. I don't know, I'm like crazy right now. Every time something happens, like minor inconvenience, I'm like, hey, let's go to the hair salon. So that's been fun. And then, yeah, just work. My sister had a quinceañera, so we have been prepping for like 12 plus months for that one big party. So that happened in March. And then I went on a few work trips, went to Miami, all the fun things. But now it's just kind of slow down.
Now, explain to me really quick. A quinceañera is when someone turns 15, right?
Yes.
Okay, but her actual birthday of her turning 16 was like last week.
Yes.
Okay.
So her 15th birthday was last year. She turned 15 last year, but we delayed it for a lot of reasons, financial, other stuff, right? Personal. So we didn't get on the ball with planning. And of course, you can't just say, oh, let's try to make this party happen in 3 months. So we're like, hey, let's just have enough time. Let's plan it. Let's do all that stuff. So we pushed it till March of this year because obviously you can't do like holidays. So then we were like, well, we don't want to do January, February because what if there's a freeze? So with Houston, it's just the weather just crazy. So we're like, let's just, go for March and see what happens. So that's what ended up happening. So she had her birthday. She had her birthday party March 3rd, no 8th, and then of course April, and then May was her birthday. So she's happy. I told her, Sophia, you literally had a party every month of this year, so you're done.
Yeah, that's so funny. And I was wondering, like, obviously I'm not Latina, so I don't know, and I've never even been to one. So it's so funny because Charlotte is such an interesting city, but I will say I grew up pretty sheltered, so I really didn't know any. Well, I knew one girl that was Spanish,
Yeah.
no one else really. So I don't know anything too much about it. So I was like, I just remember thinking, I was like, I thought.
It's like
So it was just it was a personal thing. So people don't normally do them.
Well, it's also because we're Catholic, so it's also like basically like a religious tradition as well. So it's like the cultural religious because you can get your blessing. You're 15. It's kind of like the coming of age, like bar mitzvah. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for us, it's like you become it's when a young girl becomes a lady type of thing. And honestly, like back then, it was very normal for a 15-year-old to be married and have kids. Obviously now it's just some people that are not religious, they just have the party. But like for us, our faith is important. Sophie specifically wanted her mass. She wanted to celebrate. She wanted to get her blessing. So we actually had a mass in the morning went to church in the morning. She got her blessing, and then at night is when we had the party. So she actually had a lot of input. It's funny because everybody's like, "Oh my god!" Like a lot of quinceañeras are kind of like, "Oh, whatever." Like they actually don't really care that they have it, but my sister specifically, she had literally always dreamed of having a party. She had like, me and my other sister, we were like, "Oh my gosh, she really wants to have this." Or she had a lot of input in every single detail, which was so nice. And I'm like, when she gets older, she's gonna, I feel like, appreciate it. Like me and my sister, we didn't have one because I feel like I don't know. When I was 14, I had braces, I had glasses. I literally was shy. I was like, please don't look at me. I mean, that day is literally all about you. Like everyone looks at you. You're the princess. You're the star of the show. And back then, like I was just like, literally, no, I would not have done it. So my sister didn't have one. I didn't have one. So we had to go all out for my sister, and she didn't even have a choice. But luckily, she did want one. But anyways, all that to say, the party was really fun. Everybody enjoyed it. We had so much fun. My boyfriend was like, "Oh my god, that was epic."
Oh,
I can't sing it either. So
yeah.
yeah, and now obviously it's crazy because you prepare all year and then it's like that one night, but she enjoyed it and she wanted it. So that's why we also wanted to give her that because she actually desired that. So yeah, that was
That's
stressful, but it was worth it.
that's cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah. So now she'll
Wow.
have her pictures and she'll have her sister. And it was cute because during the ceremony, the celebration, we all had like a little waltz. And so she danced with me and my other sister. So it was so cute. Yeah.
And how many? Sorry, we're getting really personal. Last question. So then, how many? So it's three sisters and two brothers.
Yes, I have two sisters, two brothers, and then me, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm like second youngest. So after me is my little sister. So she's a baby. She took all the attention. But I give her a hard time. But yeah, so it was good. I was kind of everybody. So essentially, everybody has like you get like sponsors because obviously it's a big party. There's a lot of it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Typically, some depends on the family. We only had a few sponsors. We didn't have sponsors for everything. Like I was a sponsor for like the choreography because obviously I like to dance, all that stuff. So I actually was a sponsor for the choreography. So I was in charge of making sure that my sister's like dance came out good. And it was so funny when she performed. She was like, and I was like, okay, so good. My whole family was like, did you tell her? Did you show her? I was like, actually, no. She wanted to do that. So it was so funny to see that. But yeah, it was good.
Oh,
Good time. Hmm.
I love that. We don't really. I mean, we have sweet 16s. I'm saying we. Like, I cannot express how much of like
Did you have a
Christian
sweet 16?
bubble I grew up. Like, not even like cult. Take it.
Yeah.
Quote unquote regular black people probably could have been doing other things. I don't know. We were Christian, like
Yeah.
so I was
Like
in a
that.
bubble and we didn't really all we had was like Sweet 16. I did have a nice one. But it wasn't like big, like yours
Yeah.
looked like it could have
Uh,
been on the Super Sweet 16, the TV show. Your
that's
sisters. But
hilarious.
yeah, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. If you were here in Houston, we would have totally invited you, girl. So, just know.
Oh, thank you. I'm just hoping for your children. I'll be invited to that one. Hopefully by then I'll have my life together and I can fly out there.
Girl, I know. I'm like,
Fingers
please,
crossed
Lord,
by then.
let me have good genes because I try to be like 60.
I think about that sometimes, like, and be like,
I don't even
no.
like to think about it because I'm like, ooh. I'm like, ooh. But
Wow. I will say it, like, looking at women, at least in my family, like my mom, well, I'll use my dad. My dad's 70. I feel like he does not look 70.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
So, like, I
Okay, I
feel like
didn't know that I had, I guess, quote unquote, older parents. I don't even know what older means. Because, like, I feel like culturally everything's so different. I think education plays a big part. Like, back then, a lot of people were, like, not as educated. So they weren't really, it was really just get married, have kids. Like, my parents, they didn't graduate, they didn't even go to high school, didn't graduate, obviously, college. Like, their whole thing was they were from a small town and they basically grew up together. They got married and they had kids. And, all love stories are different. But I think back then it was like I said, I'm considered like ancient for me being 31, no kids and stuff like that, right? But it's also because now, but now we're more, we're more educated. People typically that do go to college and all of that, they typically wait a little bit later to have family and kids. So
yeah, so like with my family, that was my grandparents' situation. Like my
yeah,
grandparents didn't go to college, but my dad did, and he went to law school. And my mom even went up to grad school. And my mom, so a lot of other people in my family did get married young. My mom, like, I think she was like 33 3. And she said she
Yeah.
didn't care. She was like, oh, I just hadn't found anyone. And then my dad loved the man to death, kind of a dorky nerd. I think for him, it was kind of one of those things like, oh, I probably should have a family. I don't think it was like, because, people act like it's like this mulling over, but I think he was just kind of like, oh, I should probably have a
Yeah.
family now.
That's interesting. I feel like I was just thinking that too. I was like, I don't know if guys like have that like pressure or
No,
like societal or like any or even internal because I feel like these guys are not worried about getting married or having kids or anything. Like I feel like it sometimes it literally not kills me, but okay, not that much. But it is a thought. I'm not saying I ponder on it every single day, but it is a thought that comes to my mind of like, oh crap, like so and so age and I don't have this and I have that. But I think for guys, they don't think about that, to be honest.
no, no. And
And
my
maybe
parents,
they're useful because they ain't stressing out like us. Like,
yeah. Well, probably. And my parents are very, like, I think part of the reason like it worked for them, like, they do want, I could tell there's been comments. My dad definitely wants me out of the
yeah.
house and married, but they do,
Or
like,
maybe they just want to see you happy.
right, right, right,
They start saying what's wrong, like what can I do for
right.
my
He probably wants me
child?
to stop
But it's also like
calling for help.
But it's also like, okay, stop because you're suffocating me and I'm already stressed. I'm already thinking about it. Like, don't you, I think when you have that, like, when you're an adult and yes, obviously you love your parents, but sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, especially like if you have really loving parents because you're
Yeah,
just, yes, I understand you love me, you want the best for me, but like, just know that I'm already thinking about this stuff. Like, I'm already thinking whatever
right,
your thoughts and worries are, trust me, they are my thoughts and my worries.
right,
So
right,
like hey, just clear the air. Whatever. Just because I don't say it doesn't mean I'm not thinking it or I'm not already worried about it myself. That's why
right,
I really grind my gears when people are like, "Oh, when are you thinking about getting married?" and blah blah blah. Because I'm like, don't you think I like think that? Don't you think I
right.
know that? I think it's like common sense. Like obviously. But
Right. Well,
yeah,
and I brought up like my dad specifically just because like I've talked to him about it. And he said he was like, like I didn't meet someone I wanted to get married to. I didn't like he said because I was like, you ever feel weird? You kind of got married like a little late because everyone like I will say his all my other. It's so interesting because like outside of my parents, everybody else gets married pretty young. But my dad was like he had no, and I think that goes to now that I'm like saying it out loud. I think it's a testament to like if you truly are waiting for the person that you're supposed to be with, because my parents, they were each other's first everything.
yeah.
I don't have any step siblings, no shade to people who do. My parents never cheated. Like they are each other's. I think they're a very interesting couple. They have very different ways of communicating. But like, I mean, I'm 30, so they've been married for 32 years. So like they
So they're
have
very.
like there's
And
clearly
when he
each
got
other's
married,
person. Say that
wait, so
again.
you're how old was your dad when he got married? So he was like 40?
No, 70 minus 32.
I'm like, 70 minutes are putting yourselves.
38.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Almost.
36. I think it was 36.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, my point is
See,
though,
that's what I
like,
was saying. This would be like, what the heck, Valor?
I know, like, if my parents see this, they're gonna be like, "Wow, you spent a lot of time talking about us." But anyway, let me just
It's
my
the
point
truth.
of saying my point of saying this is like I think when you are with the person that all that stuff doesn't really matter. I guess
Right.
when you're with the person you're supposed to be with, because I mean,
Right.
and once again, no shade to this, but I actually know quite a few girls,
Yeah.
quite a few Christian women who got married in their 20s that are already divorced and are
Right.
and or on husband number two. No shade
Right.
once again, but that's just like the reality of it. But I
Right.
think
Your
like
personal life doesn't even develop till you're literally 25. Like, I was just talking to my sister about this. I was like, the things that I've done when I was before 25, I'm like, wow, I really wasn't thinking. you know?
yeah,
I am like, and that's what they say. They also make like kind of like it's also like kind of thing that they're like, oh, if you are hit your 30s and you're not married, congratulations, you skipped your first divorce, which is kind of funny, but it's also there is some truth to that because I feel like
yeah,
when you're just young, your priorities are different, and God forbid you don't completely change, but you do grow into you really just are trying different things, and you're kind of learning about yourself and who you are, and all that stuff. So I think yeah, like if you get married early, not to say that just because you get married early, it's not going to be successful. Like, I'm not saying that at all, but when you are young, your priorities are a little bit different. So
yeah. And I don't think
And I want to say, like, if I could have been married by 23, like, I would have. So I want to make that clear. Like, I'm not knocking people who got married in their 20s. Like, if I could have been married by 23, I could have. That was my plan, actually. My point
When I was 20,
is,
I swore I was gonna be married by 25.
I thought I was going to meet my person in college. We were going to have a cute little college romance. I thought it would be one and done. Meet him in college, have a cute college romance, get married the weekend after college, start having kids after two. Anyway, that's not what happened. Not even close. Okay, my point in saying all of this is I think from what it appears to be from my parents, when you find that person, it literally does, who cares you got married later? And my mom said she always wanted a boy and a girl. She got a boy and a girl. My dad, he's a man, so he said he just wanted kids. It didn't really matter. So it's like, I think these type of things, like, we mull over them and we kind of hem and haw. But I think, like, when you find that person, it's not going to matter as much.
Yeah, and truthfully, you never like, and it goes back to God's plan, like God's plan. It goes back to God's plan. You just never know what's in store. Unfortunately, there are situations you just don't know what's ahead, right? When someone
Right.
gets married young and they have a lot of kids, only God knows the reason why. When you get married late and you meet the love of your life later, only God knows why. Like you just never know what's ahead. So that's why you have to remember, like God's timing is perfect. As I know it
Yeah.
sounds deep. You don't know what's ahead. You don't know if you're gonna have sick children. You don't know if you're gonna have a hit kid that's gonna be special needs. You don't know if you're gonna lose your husband or lose your or whatever. I mean, it sounds kind of morbid, but it is truth. I mean, there's a lot of times where people do get married younger and they become young widows and stuff, and it sucks. But it's just kind of like you don't know what type of future you'll have. So it's just, if you do meet the love of your life, then great, don't
Yeah.
wait.
Great. Good for you.
I'm like, great. Sorry, my sister was texting me and I'm the worst multitasker. I'm like, my attention span's like, bro. Anyways, all I have to say is trust God's plan for your life. And if you have the love of your life, don't let them go just because you think you have all the time in the world either. But if you are in your 30s and you are worried that your time's coming off or whatever, don't that's also not an invitation for you to idolize marriage and also like, lower your standards and be like, all right, you give me a baby right now.
Yeah. And that's a good segue, kind of, sort of, not really. Something that I'm going to be talking about more on the podcast, kind of. It's just kind of, I'll use my life for example. This, in the great words of Sharpay Evans, this is not what I want, this is not what I planned. And I just have to say I do not understand. But with that, I think we need more, and I'll be having people on the podcast to talk a little bit more about this, and like I'll be sharing more of my experience. We need more people to kind of talk about like how do you navigate life in your 30s. And rewatching BoJack Horseman, so pray for me.
Yeah.
But there's like this scene where BoJack visits his friends, and she's married and has kids, and I shared it on my Instagram, and she's like, oh, I hope it's not weird that she came to visit me and I have a family and kids. And he's like, no, at our age, if you don't have a family and kids, that's actually weird. And they're like both awkwardly like, haha, yeah, because like he doesn't have family, he's not married, doesn't have kids, and that was just such a funny moment for me because all of my close friends, I'm blessed. I have friends that are in my town and everything, but everybody like I'm super close to and I have a more intimate relationship with. They're all married, having children, they're in different seasons of life. So it's just kind of like a funny thing. So I think the best thing, one thing that I want this podcast to be when you're being an other girl, if you are single, is just to do this with grace, to do it. And obviously we can get our jokes off, but you also don't want to be that friend that's like not, like the Bible says rejoice with those who rejoice. Like you don't want to be that friend that on Valentine's Day your friends can't text you, the cute pictures that their boyfriend sent them because you're crying in a puddle. And sure that might happen, but like you still want your friends to know that you'll be excited with them. So yeah, that's just something to think about. Even with Mother's Day coming up, I was thinking about this. One of the things that always goes around Mother's Day is the list of the different types of moms, and one of them is if you've always desired to be a mom, Mother's Day can be hard. And I do agree with that. And I am someone like, it's a shock that I'm not a mom. Like, younger me would not be, younger me would be like, what on earth has she, like, slapped me? What did you do? Okay? So, like, I want to give that context. But I think that, like, at least as a person, I don't want to make Mother's Day about myself. I have tons of friends that are moms. I have a friend that's pregnant. I want to be able to tell them, have a happy Mother's Day. Like, I want this to be a joyous time for other people. I think that's part of like rejoice with those who rejoice, and then also kind of like deny yourself. Like it would feel great to make it about me. Like, man, I've always wanted to be a mom, and it's just not happening. Sadness. That would feel good for a second, but like really, you don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that's like texting your friends, congratulations. I love texting my pregnant friends Happy Mother's Day because A, it affirms that they have a baby already. It affirms the life of their baby, and then B, I feel like I'm probably the only one who does it, so they're always so shocked. So I like to, like, be excited, be happy. Sure, if you need to take a moment and mourn the life you wish you had, but like, this should be, don't make it about yourself, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, like, great advice. And then I think also too is like, all right, so you have two choices, right? You either wallow in your pity, and I'm not saying don't you push those feelings aside, because I think they're valid. I think it's valid to feel how you feel. Like I always tell my partner, if this makes me upset, it makes me upset. Is it right to act on it? No, but it is I'm okay to feel my feelings and process
Right.
them how it's validating. It's whatever, right? But the other thing is like, okay, well, what am I gonna do about that? And it's like I have two choices. Like the way I see it, you can either wallow and be upset and be bitter and be jealous, or you can ask God to help you and to validate your feelings, but also process them in a healthy way. And you can still be there for your friends, even if you don't have to be fake. I mean, like, I'm so happy for you.
Right, right. Don't be fake about it, because that's even more annoying.
And yeah, and like I said, the way I see it is like you can either be bitter and jealous, and it's still not gonna change the outcome. It's still not gonna be like, God's gonna give me a baby and a husband or whatever else. It's not gonna change the result. So why not in the process at least enjoy it as much as you can?
Right.
That's kind of the way I see it. It's like when I have a bad day, I obviously want to be like, oh, screw everything. Everybody got me messed up. But at the same time, I'm only hurting myself. And then I get mad at myself because I'm like, wait, I let that get to me and I let it affect my mood. And like, life's too short for that. I don't want to live life like that. It's not cute. It's not fun. And honestly, the only person that really ends up hurting is yourself, because now it didn't change the fact that you don't have a boyfriend, or not boyfriend, but like husband or whatever, kids. And it didn't change the fact that your friends are still, reaching those milestones, and it's okay. Life is beautiful regardless, and I think people forget that. And I think also, like we were talking about, like in the Christian world, especially, sometimes it can be a little toxic because they'll say, "Oh, well, being a mother is the most beautiful thing you'll ever do in this life," and sacrificial. And I know they're coming from a good place, but at the same time, there is. And I don't take it to offense, because I take it to God and have a conversation with Him. But it's also like I could see how women can kind of go away feeling like, oh, okay, well, screw me. I'm
Yeah.
not a mom or have kids. And we are called to live a life that honors God. And that doesn't always mean that you're going to be a wife and a mother. Unfortunately, even if you do desire that, and it might look, or it might, you just never know. It could look a little bit different. We're all called to be motherly, even if we're not birth mothers. I think we
Yeah.
forget that. And honestly, they're like, marriage is you're dying to yourself, just like, we're denying ourselves, we're serving someone else. And, that's not always cute and picture perfect, like the pictures and the movies and stuff. Marriage just takes a lot of work from what I've seen from the outer perspective. Of course, I'm not married, so I don't know. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows. And then, of course, it's good to have different people, different walks of life. I actually enjoy it because I have my corporate chicas that, are not married, don't have kids, and I can call them and let's go have dinner, have a fun time, and talk about other stuff. Then I have my married friends that I take advice from, and that have kids that are going through motherhood that I aspire to be like one day, right? And then, of course, it's always good to have, you can always, just because you're not a mom doesn't mean you can't do things that to serve other people, honestly. That's something I'm trying to remind myself every day. It's like, okay, well, if I never have kids, what can I still do with my life that will serve the little ones, around me? Like my nieces and my nephews. I freaking love them so much. Like I can only imagine how much I would love my children. But like just seeing my sister's daughters growing up, I'm like, I can pour into them. Just because you don't have kids yet, not saying it's never gonna happen, but just because your life doesn't look the way it looks, and like the way you want it to look now, like it doesn't mean you can't serve other people and the people around you. So that's my 2 cents. Love on those babies. I love my nieces so much. And then guess what? When they cry and they're fussy and I'm already overstimulated and I'm done with work, I can give them to their mama and I can enjoy that. Can enjoy that.
Yes.
Like, you know what? Having kids right now is actually not that bad. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. And to wrap up this conversation, because we do have many things to get
Yeah.
into really
Cut off
quick.
in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I want to say that one of the things that I'm working on and thinking about, like, that really resonated with me, like, how can you still serve the next generation,
Yeah.
as a single woman? And one thing that, once I get some things in my life together, I am going to go back to, I used to, well, growing up, I actually taught children church. Like, I did the Bible lessons. And then when I was in Virginia Beach, back when my life was over there, I was a leader for the 3 to 5 year olds, which I love. 3 to 5 is like like chef's kiss. That's my favorite ages of kids. But yeah, so it's tiny.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most immediate thing I can think of, and just serving in that capacity. There's so many things that you can do, and we'll be covering some of those eventually in the podcast, because there really aren't a lot of podcasts or a lot of people on the right who talk about this seriously. A lot of people are like, get married, get married, get married, get married. Oh, you're not married by 30. Oh, that's the thing. And I think we need more of that. But
Yeah.
that should lead us, that's going to lead us into our conversation. We talked about this offline, but about the woke right versus and the woke left.
Get into it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So for those that really have not touched it, just because, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, it's,
You know, like you also don't want to open up a can of worms because again,
yeah.
media is like I was just thinking this. I was telling my friend this because I think a lot of things have changed in the influencer blogger realm. Unfortunately, in this political climate, things are not black and white anymore. I mean, life has never been black and white, but I think in the social media realm, people want to make it thing. People want to make things black and white, and they want to make people black and white, and we're not black and white. We come in so many shapes and sizes and beliefs and differences, and that is what makes us interesting, I think, and just more willing to hear each other's side and more open-minded. But when you get social media, when you say something or you do, like for me personally, I've kind of all around just stopped posting anything controversial just because I'm like, I don't have the mental capacity right now to worry about stuff like that. Like, to be honest, I'm not a political commentator. I'm not trying to be. I'm not really even trying to influence anything right now. I'm just being me and trying to float my head above water. But I'm afraid because I'm just like, I don't know that me putting my 2 cents should make any type of difference. So rather than doing that, I'm gonna spend my energy elsewhere where I know I can actually change minds and hearts and however I can, but it's just not gonna be social media. At least not right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who need to take what you said to heart. They need to take what you said to heart and apply it to their lives for sure. So I want to say to that point,
If you have views, then go off sis or go off king, but that's just not me right now.
no, no, it shouldn't be a lot of people. But what I want to say to your point is, I think so. The black and white thing, I think I know what you mean. I was just having a conversation with someone. I think very black and white. Like, I think, like, this thing is wrong. This thing is not wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like what I'm thinking is not the same of which we're thinking on the same, we have the same conclusion, but they were coming to it a little differently. What I'm thinking about is, like, at the end of the day, like, some things are just wrong, and it doesn't matter who did it. It doesn't matter if they're on your team or if they're not on your team. And
Yeah.
some things are okay. It doesn't matter if it's on your team or not on your team. Like, I
Yeah.
think that so many people, and like what you said too, I mean, we have another friend who made similar comments about, like, not wanting to touch things anymore. It has become so toxic.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
I have been, yeah, and, like, I can even say, like, on my things, I have I actually lost quite a few followers because of some stances that I had that aren't, like, they are conservative by, like, book, but they're not mainstream conservative, you know? I'm a Christian before I'm anything else, okay? Let's get that
Yeah.
straightened out
Let me
first. So
right.
I'm a Christian before anything else, so that is where I'm going to side. So that means I might not necessarily agree with every political thing
Like
that
every trendy topic, right?
right, right. So that means I'm not going to sit here and rah rah everything I see these other political commentators. And now,
Or just because just and I think people forget that just because we have a certain president or whatever, it doesn't matter who it is because you're still allowed and you should be able to question them and
100%,
hold them accountable. I think people forget that. Like you
100%.
said, you said they work for us. So to be
Yep.
honest, that's what I'm saying. And honestly, sometimes you just have to give things time. And right now, that's why we're so like we're so glued to our phones. We have so much anxiety because we're just looking for the next hot thing. And a lot of people, both left and right, they say and do certain things that just for clickbait. And I'm like, I'm not falling
100%.
for this. I don't care who you are. Like I said, I just don't have time for it right now in my life. I don't want to have time for it. It annoys me, to be honest. And that's why I don't entertain it anymore. I don't entertain
Oh,
anything these days that does not bring me peace. Oh,
yeah. No, you're totally right. A lot of people, the thing is, they're getting paid, okay? That's what's
right.
great about Those Are the Girls. I don't really get paid. I do have a few Patreons, thank you so much. And I do sell some merch. But I'm not making, let's make this clear, I'm not making Turning Point money.
You're a queen.
Yes. So, like, that's how, one of the ways you can know that
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Now, if you see me in like a mansion, you look at my things, I'm making $1 million a year. Okay, I might start talking funny. All right, I'm
But
still
honestly,
not,
money does change people. Money and power, right? I think we
right,
can
right. No, literally. I might be talking different, but hold me
yeah.
accountable, okay? If you see me in a mansion,
If you
you
tell her
know,
with a handbag that's costs more than her car, I'll be like,
right.
bad girl, you're doing it.
If you see me on a private jet, okay, hold me accountable if I start talking funny, all
If you
right?
see, I mean, they're like, all right, I filed my taxes. I'll see y'all in prison.
Yeah, if I'm saying weird things and like hold me accountable. But my point is,
There was another meme. It was like saying like, oh, and like, I'm just telling y'all right now, the money gonna change me.
yeah. So like, let me be. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? Now this is not me. Don't join the Patreon, okay? Please join the Patreon so I can be even more honest. But there is a threshold, okay? Let's be real with ourselves. If you're getting paid $1 million a year, there are some things you're gonna say and you're not gonna say. Which brings me to a lot of these people that are like very popular right now. They are getting
Right.
paid $1 million, millions of dollars a year. So they say or don't say these things.
And it's never any rat race, right? It's like any job. You want to do more. You want to produce more. Your numbers one. You want to. You're never like satisfied. So you're constantly like trying to reach and do this. Okay, my video hit 5 million. Let me get 10 million. Let me do that. It never stops. Especially if you don't have God in your life. I feel like you don't really have that.
Ding ding ding.
Or even family. You
Moral.
don't moral compass to be like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to stay grounded. I need to stay like focused on what truly matters. And even Christian influencers, like there's been I've listened to a few podcasts where they're like, I'm burnt out. No, where you're like, this is exactly another reason why you shouldn't compare yourself and you shouldn't let people's lives on social media be the moral compass that you stand on because honestly, we're all honestly forget, but we're all sinners, and that's why we need God. We need Jesus
Mhm.
to. That's why Jesus died for our sins. Because honestly, left, right, middle, it doesn't matter. We all need God. We are nothing without Him, and it just shows you how broken we really are, and how we ourselves cannot be our own savior. We literally can't. So if you look at social media and you look at all these people in their lives, you try to like you're jealous of them or whatever. Next thing you know, you're like, we're going through a divorce after 13 years. And we're like, what? Like, they seem so happy. They were in each other's like Instagram and they were posting each other. And it's like, this is why you don't look at another relationship and compare it to yours. This is why you don't look at this person's life and say, oh my God. Then you look at this person, they have all these awards and they're millions of followers and everything. And next thing you know, they come out with, I'm going on a break or I'm done with social media. You're like, what? I thought they were like the happiest persons ever, you know? Oh, yeah. And you just never know what's going on behind closed doors. So don't compare your life to others and don't make that like put people on a pedestal because if we know anything about social media is as they go up, they all come down eventually.
And I want to say this to this point. I want to make a point about what's going on. I think that a couple years ago, something happened within the sorority, within big conservative, whatever you want to call it, and people kind of like lost their minds. So like, if you feel yourself drifting away from the regular content, well, girlie, you found the right place. This is going to be different. This is going to be different, and you can support by joining the Patreon. No, I'm just joking. No, but seriously, like
Click
that's
the link bio. Just kidding.
right, link in bio. No, but seriously, that is like the purpose of this podcast. Is I mean,
Yeah.
it started off being separate from like culture because
Yeah.
we are separate, we're set apart, we are different, we are others from the culture. But now it does feel as if we are. Some of us are also others from like this mainstream conservative Republican like zeitgeist that has been created over the last couple of years, and
Yeah.
I want you to know, like, you found a place here. And last thing on this, I want to say one other thing about what's going on in politics right now. I'm going to continue to talk about politics. I'm just trying to make sure that I get a guest that's an expert in the field. And here, part of the reason why it's paused a little bit is, like Isabel said, there are a lot of things happening right now. I want to give anyone listening just a little bit, I don't want you to feel like overwhelmed, because it gets overwhelming. You see this headline, you see this headline, this person, this is that. A lot of things are happening right now.
Yeah.
But we won't see the results till later. And
Right.
a lot of things are being said that
Things play out.
and a lot of things that are being said that are happening right now are being reversed like that. So I heard this on a podcast. I think I've heard this on this podcast too, but I heard this on a podcast where someone was explaining that what, for example, a lot of Elon Musk essentially is doing is he's acting like a tech person. So in tech, when something's wrong, you just, for example, this cord should go here. Oops, let me move that cord out. Oh, actually, I shouldn't have put the cord out. Let me put the cord back within minutes. Okay, so he's changing things, moving things around, doing all this stuff. But if you're paying attention, which is hard because a lot of people don't do follow-ups on their articles, if you're paying attention, things do come back around. Things, we can discuss what is the purpose of treating, the country like a tech. That's another conversation, but I just do want to give some people some peace and some understanding. And I'm going to be honest with you. I checked Shein the other day because I have something coming up. Everything was normal priced, okay? I want to say that.
Sorry,
What'd you say?
I said not Shein.
Yeah, I checked Shein. I have some things coming up. I want to look cute and affordable, and everything's same. So, just certain things are being said, being done.
Yeah, we have to
happen. Does not mean
the media is the cancer in the society. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
blame the media a lot because they feed into both the right and the left. They feed into that nasty stuff that they just want to cause more division. But
Yes.
honestly, the days where I don't really even get on my phone are truly the most peaceful because at the end of the day, literally, unless something's attacking my home right now, I'm gonna be fine. I probably wouldn't have never even heard heard of the such news if I wasn't so glued to my phone. So sometimes
Yes.
it's good to unplug. I'm a big unplugging queen right now.
Yes.
Just focus on your life and what you want it to look like, and of course, stay informed, but don't be so over consumed by it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, no, you're so right, 100%. There was something else I was gonna say, and I lost it.
We probably have a few more minutes before my light starts dimming. It's like 8.
Okay, I guess we can wrap that up. I feel like I was gonna say one more thing. I guess the last thing I'll just say really quick about the conservative thing is I just want you guys. Sorry, I remember that. What I was gonna say about the conservative thing is if you have if you have become more conservative, Republican, however you want, if you have shifted from right of center the last couple of years, I want you to remember part of the reason why I'm sure you did that is because you saw how mainstream media was doing things. You saw how people were straight up lying for money, this and that. You have to remember that because people are doing that on the right as well. I think sometimes people have left of center and moved right of center, and they have decided they kind of take the same. I don't want to say mindlessly following. That's not the right word, but the same. I trust.
It's like it's like a friendship. Like you left that friendship because it was toxic and they were manipulative and X and Y Z, and then you went to your other friend who was always more truthful and centered and grounded and rational. But then it's like they started becoming just like the other person. You're like, wait, hold on one second. Like this is exactly why I don't associate myself with this type of person. Is because I choose to be a free thinker and question things, process things, and stuff like that. So yeah, you're so right. But I think a lot of, for whatever reasons, we maybe have lost that. In the right, and it's like we can't sit there and preach something and then become the very people that we are saying all these things that they are or classifying them as such, whatever, I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No,
yeah.
you're 100% correct. And last thing I want to say, then let's talk about space, Katy Perry and space, and then we're done. The last thing I want to say about this is another thing that I always have to remind myself too is whether XYZ commentator is talking crazy does not mean that this particular belief that I have that's similar to them is wrong either. You have to still stand in your beliefs and values, even if people on your side are starting to talk crazy, starting to do weird things, and I just want to say that no matter who says what, that does not change what your values, what the Bible says, that does not change any of that. Okay, Katy Perry in space, what were your thoughts?
Like always, I live for the memes. The memes are so funny. I think it was a waste of space. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm honestly like indifferent. I'm the kind of person that I get both sides. I get where people are coming from that sense that, oh my gosh, women, this is celebratory, blah blah blah. But then I also get where they were like, yeah, they were women and hurrah, but at the same time, they spent all that money for what? Like, what was the purpose? They're like, what was the purpose? They could have done something else that was, I guess, more touching more people's lives and impacting other people. But I guess the rich will be rich, right? It's like you don't even know
Yeah.
how much what to do with all that money. But Katy Perry specifically, she looked funny, like not funny, but when she came down, she acted like I don't know. She
Yeah, she was like
it
kissing
was
the ground. So a little
exactly.
dramatic. So here's the thing.
And
After
sorry, last thing. And it's like the normal person, like I was reading comments and it was kind of half and half. They're like, oh, this shit, blah, blah, blah. Some people didn't care and they were like, whatever. And then other people were like, this is so shameful. Like, you had a bunch of billionaires on this aircraft or whatever. They could have used their influence for something better and yada, yada, yada. And other people were just like, they were just over it because here we are struggling to pay our groceries. And then these girls are just going to space for like 5 minutes. And they're like, we can't relate to you.
Yeah. What's really peculiar about it is there were three people on there that were actual, like, there was like an actual scientist, an actual, like, astronaut, a civil rights actor. Like, they were people who were, like, serious people on there.
Right,
And I just
right.
don't
So I don't want
understand
to take
why.
away from that.
What'd you say?
I said, yeah, so let's not take away from that for sure.
Well, and I don't understand why it couldn't have just been them who went. Like, that would have, and to be honest, that would have been a completely different experience. Like,
And I
if
think that's
you,
what people were upset. They're like, we have actual women, astronauts, and now you got Katy Perry.
right, like I don't understand that. I was listening to another podcast, and one of the things that they were saying was that part of it, like this is going to be like people are going to start like an amusement park. Like, oh
Yeah.
hey, you guys have it now. We're going to go up to space for a second. They're going to start doing that, like, and having Katy
Oh.
Perry, Gail King, like normal people who aren't actual astronauts, having non-astronauts, people are working to make it normalized. That's what I heard. I
Like,
don't know how true that is.
overlife for the people can afford it, which is not us.
And that's the thing. Until I get that $1 million a year, I don't know if I would be able to
Right.
even participate and be in the
People are
tax
like, I
bracket
can't even
that
get my
would.
egg. Yeah, they're like, I can't even get my eggs, and they just took a trip to space.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
it's like they tried, but like it wasn't really giving what they wanted it to give. And then
no,
the other thing was too, it was like people were just like, oh my gosh, they're just over the whole like celebrity type of thing. So I think like your point, they should have brought someone like actually normal, and they're billionaires, they could sponsor someone, I'm sure. So I think yeah, they like I said, they were trying to give where we are the people, but it wasn't.
no. I follow. Do you follow that astronaut lady that's like has the daughter?
She's going through for like IVF and
Kelly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I follow Kelly. Why wasn't Kelly like? Well, I know why Kelly
Right.
was there, but like, if Kelly, so one of Kelly's friends did go. Like, why did? I mean, I don't even know Kelly's friend's name. Like, that should have been more what was promoted. Like, that's more interesting to
Or
me.
they could have represented someone like I'm flying for so and so, and they just graduated from you know aerospace, blah blah blah, or something. I'm not saying they tried, but it wasn't giving what they wanted it to
Right.
give. People were just
Well,
like we're
next.
over it. People are just over celebrities, or like we don't give a crap. Like we can't afford groceries, life. Yeah, they're just over it. And that's what I'm saying. Things have changed so much, especially now because technically we can all be whatever we want to be, podcasters, YouTubers, whatever.
Yeah.
People are like, I'm gonna take advice from my friend that I actually know, and if she says this product is good and blah blah blah, I'll rather believe her than a celebrity. That's just what it's crazy because even the Grammys and the what is it called? What did we just
Met
have?
Gala. Met Gala.
You have people that now we're in a space where we control the narrative, like the people, right? So we want to see authenticity. Like I was just telling my friend this, like social media has changed. We don't want the cookie cutter pictures and aesthetics. Like people want real, authentic content, and you don't have to necessarily share every single piece of your life because I think you can all like we need to also understand just how we have boundaries in life. You should also have boundaries on social media. But anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but basically things have changed for sure. Like now they want influencers to I keep going like this as if I'm the one, but they want influencers to go and interview these celebrities because people are watching influencers and real life people go about their everyday lives and creating their content versus what's her face, Katy Perry. right? Like
Yeah.
Katy Perry's day in life, it does not look like your average American, and I think that's why
No.
people are so off put to that.
And that's where Katy Perry and I are different in the sense of if I was as rich as her, I wouldn't be trying to relate to people. And that's how I
Right.
don't understand when celebrities are like that. Like if I was as rich as her, like you wouldn't catch me trying to be relatable. I would just live within my means. Like I'd live
And
within
it's
my tax
okay.
bracket. I don't get it. But all
And
this
it's
to say, Jeff Bezos, next time you're putting together a team, Bill and I would love to be in the room. We can
oh,
help
I was about to
you
say, like, I go in
market.
space.
Oh no, I'm not going to space. No. Let's make that clear. I'm not going to space. I would love to help you market and pick the people, come up with a campaign for you. But no, I will not be going to space. But I can help pick the people so that it's not
We
so
can
much of a
do
press
space
disaster.
outfit.
I would love to help the outfits. First of all, those outfits were super cute. They were tailored. They fit everybody's body. I mean, everybody looks snatched.
The outfits were that's such a I'm just a girl moment. You're like,
No,
I look cute.
that was my first thought, honestly. When I saw the picture, I was like, wait a minute, everybody looks snatched.
Yeah,
Okay, one
my
last thing,
favorite.
and then we're done. Like, for real, done.
Yeah,
There
go.
was an article, and the reason why I want to talk about it, because I feel like you would be really good to talk about this, because this is kind of like, as your persona as a big sister, this is something I think that you would care about. So there's an article going around about Facebook allegedly detecting when teen girls deleted selfies so they could serve them beauty ads. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
So
Sorry.
Facebook would see, like, if a teen girl takes a selfie and then she deletes it, they would notice that, and then they would try to send, like, you know how they pick the ads for you? They would try to
Yeah.
have an ad for, like, a beauty product or, like, Botox, something like that. So what are your
Mm,
thoughts on that?
I feel like it can. I feel like I said, maybe the thought behind it might be a good idea, but in reality, I could see how that could go wrong in so many different ways. You know, because I feel like, especially when you're so young. I was just telling my sister, my other sister, I was like, gosh, I think people forget that teenagers. I act like I'm a mom, but teenagers honestly require a lot of attention, if not more than like their toddler 7, 8, and 9, because they are literally shaping their viewpoint of all these different things about their beauty, about their confidence, about who they are. You know, a lot of people tell me that, oh my God, your sister, she's so mature. She's so mature for her age. She's so confident. And I love to hear that. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she has older siblings. We talk to her. She has sisters, obviously my parents, but you just really have to pour into the teenagers, especially nowadays, because I think they're suffering a lot from bullying, comparing themselves. I mean, honestly, even like my sister's school, she came home with like a little her name tag and stuff, and in the back it said suicide prevention. I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, we didn't have that like when I was in middle school and
Yeah.
high school. And it's just sad because you're just like, oh my gosh, these kids, they need so much love, so much support. And sometimes you think, oh, well, they're 16 years old, they're 17 years old, they can drive, they can do it, they're grown, but really they're not grown. I mean, your frontal lobe literally does not develop till 25. So they're children. And yes, they just look, mature. They might have even facial hair, and they have curvy bodies, especially now with friggin' all the stuff that they put in their food. But at the end of the day, they're actually literally babies. Me and my boyfriend talk about it all the time. We're like, oh my gosh, you just think you're so this and that when you're 16, 17. Like, nobody can tell me anything, but you're literally just a baby. So, and then you have the pressure of trying to grow up, and I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's just that's what you just have to pour into um like teenagers, because they need the guidance. And now with
Mhm.
social media, I can't even imagine. I mean, shoot, I'm old, and well, not old, but I'm older, and I still fight those thoughts and feelings. I can't even imagine someone so young that's literally they're trying to attain a unrealistic expectation of what beauty and confidence is. So
Yeah.
that's where I do think, representation matters. You want, like, growing up, you do want to feel like, hey, I can have my nose and my hair and my and whatever. You don't have to feel like you have to be like a cookie cutter thing. Because honestly, to me, that's just I don't find that attractive. Like, to be the same, like, we lose
As everyone else,
who
yeah.
God made us to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And to wrap it up, I'll share my thoughts. I think it's kind of diabolical that Facebook would do that, but I do think, and the reason why they're doing that is for more money. And I think that just kind of goes to the social media, just something for all of us, like no matter what age you are, all of us remember, like, social media is really just to get money. So we have to really take everything with a grain of salt. And I like what you said about like paying attention to your teenagers. I think that is something that, I don't know if anybody listening here has teenagers, but I even think even in middle school, at least for me, was a very traumatic time. Like it was like that. I think is really where I that's where I became aware that I didn't look like everyone else. I'll just leave it at that. In middle school. So I think these are around the times that.
Yeah, and you learn that because when you're little, you're a kid and you don't think you're ugly. You don't think your nose is big or your eyes are too small or whatever. It's when you grow up and you have other kids around that raised the
Telling
way you
you
are.
it.
That you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're blah blah, and you're like, wait a minute, yeah, that is. If they're saying it, it must be true, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Even when you come home with your parents, like, you're the most beautiful person in the world. Of course my
Right.
parents are gonna think that. I mean, I could be the most hideous human ever, and my mom is still gonna say I've never seen anything prettier. That's just how we are as humans. They can't help it. So when you're out in the real world, I think it's just really important for us to, like you said, be on top of it, and try to do our part in those of us without kids, trying to do our part in like fostering like being okay with your beauty, I guess. And I speak to myself because that's, even at 30 years old, that's something that's probably my biggest struggle in life.
Like, sure.
I'm joking. No, but like the beauty aspect is probably one of my, still to this day, something I struggle with. And I think like, working on that and for the youth. Sorry, what were you
I said we love an honest queen. Have you seen that video where they're like, oh, when your friend is overly positive, you're like saying all these things about yourself that you don't like. I'm like, we love the honesty. We love honesty. Like I'm just trying to be that friend that like hypes you up, makes everything better.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, well, my car just broke down. At least now you'll get a new car. You're like, shut up. Just let me.
It's funny.
Anyways, the lights dimming, so yeah.
No, that's it. Is there anything else you want to add before we log off?
No, ma'am. I think there's definitely a lot of more topics. I do want to come back as a guest, of course. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. We got a lot of thoughts.
Yes, stay tuned. We have more Christian hot takes. I'm doing these TCAPs. I'm calling them Christian hot takes because we are Christians, and some of these are hot takes. But I also don't necessarily know if this should go into like the Christian category. That's something I can talk offline with somebody else over. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you rate it. 5 stars or more is really what I'd appreciate. 5 stars, and then give us a glowing review. Tell all your friends. Let us know what you think about all the things that we said. We talked about a lot. Can't remember everything, but let us know what you think. I guess that's it. Have a good day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening.
Bye, guys.